He told the world she didn't exist because loving her would destroy his family name. But 7 years later, she returned as the woman his entire empire was now competing against. And this time, she wasn't asking for love. She was taking everything. Rain slammed violently against the glass doors of the mansion as Zuri stood outside, her hands trembling as she knocked again. Once, twice, a third time. For a moment, she thought he wouldn't open. Then the door slowly pulled back. Adrian Cole stood there, perfect as always, but cold, distant, unfamiliar. "Why are you here?" he asked, his tone flat. Zuri blinked, confused by the question. "I tried calling you all night," she said, her voice shaking. "You didn't answer." Adrian didn't reply immediately. Instead, his eyes shifted behind him, scanning the hallway like he was making sure no one else was coming. Then he stepped outside and pulled the door halfway shut behind him. "Zuri, this isn't a good time." Her chest tightened instantly. "What do you mean?" she asked. "You said you would come. You said we'd talk." "I said a lot of things," Adrian replied sharply. The rain filled the silence between them. Zuri swallowed. "Did something happen?" Adrian rubbed his forehead slowly, as if he was already tired of the conversation. "My family knows about you." Zuri froze. The words landed, but didn't fully make sense yet. "And?" she asked carefully. Adrian looked away. "And they don't accept it." A long pause followed. Zuri let out a small, disbelieving laugh. "That's it." Adrian's jaw tightened. "It's not that simple." "It never is with you," she replied, her voice breaking slightly. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't understand what I'm dealing with." Zuri's expression changed instantly. "No," she said firmly. "You don't understand what I'm dealing with. I left everything for you." Adrian shook his head. "I never asked you to do that." The sentence hit hard. Zuri stepped back slightly. "You didn't have to ask," she whispered. "Love should have been enough." Silence. Adrian exhaled. "I think we should slow things down." Zuri blinked. "What?" "Just for now," he added. Her voice cracked. "Slow things down? After everything we've been through?" Adrian avoided her eyes. "My family is arranging meetings, expectations. I can't ignore them." Zuri's breathing became uneven. "So what are you saying?" she asked quietly. Adrian hesitated. Then finally, "I think this us is becoming complicated." Zuri stared at him. "Complicated?" she repeated. She pointed at herself. "I moved my entire life for you." Adrian's tone hardened. "And I never promised you forever." Silence. That was the moment everything broke. Zuri's voice dropped. "Then what was I to you?" Adrian didn't answer. Because there was no answer that wouldn't destroy what was left. A car horn sounded from inside the compound. Adrian turned his head immediately. Too quickly. Zuri noticed. Her eyes narrowed. "There's someone here," she said. Adrian didn't respond. That was enough. Zuri stepped forward. "Who is it?" He moved to block her. "Zuri, don't do this." But she pushed slightly past him. And then she saw it. A car parked inside. A woman sitting inside it. Elegant. Composed. The kind of woman that belonged in his world. Zuri turned back slowly. "Who is she asked. Adrian closed his eyes briefly. "My fiancée." The rain felt heavier. Zuri let out a hollow laugh. "You're joking." "I'm not." She nodded slowly. "So this is what you were doing while I was waiting for you." "It's not like that," Adrian said quickly. She raised her hand. "Stop." Silence fell again. "You let me love you," she said, her voice shaking but controlled, "while you were already building a future with someone else." Adrian ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't plan it like this." Zuri shook her head. "That's the problem. You didn't plan anything. You just didn't choose me." A pause. Adrian looked away. "I'm trying to protect my future." Zuri nodded slowly. "And I'm not part of it." He said nothing. That silence confirmed everything. Zuri wiped her face quickly, refusing to let him see her cry. "I understand now," she said softly. She turned to leave. "Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're feeling this story so far." "Zuri," Adrian called. She stopped, but didn't turn. He walked closer. "Please, don't walk away like this." Her voice was calm now. "You already walked away first." A long pause. Then she added quietly, "And Adrian, if you ever loved me." He looked at her. "Don't look for me again." Then she walked into the rain. Adrian stood frozen. Inside the car, his fiancée leaned forward slightly. "Is she gone?" she asked. Adrian didn't answer. Because for the first time, he wasn't sure what he had just lost. The rain swallowed her completely. Zuri didn't look back. Not once. Her footsteps were slow at first, then steadier. As if each step was forcing her to accept something she didn't want to believe. "It's over," she whispered to herself. But the words didn't feel real yet. The city felt colder that night. Louder. Unfamiliar. Zuri walked with no destination, her clothes soaked, her phone buzzing endlessly inside her bag. She didn't check it. She already knew who it was. Adrian. Hours passed before she finally stopped. A small bus station. Dim lights. Almost empty. Zuri sat on a cold metal bench, hugging herself tightly. For a long time, she didn't move. Didn't think. Didn't feel. Then slowly, it hit. Her hands covered her face. A quiet sob escaped. Then another. And another. Until she couldn't hold it in anymore. Why? She whispered through tears. Why did you let me love you like that? No answer came. Only silence. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she looked. Adrian calling. Her finger hovered over the screen. For a moment, she almost answered. Then she remembered the car. The woman. My fiancé. Zuri declined the call. Immediately, another call came in. She turned the phone off completely and placed it beside her. I won't go back, she said quietly, even though no one was there to hear it. Morning came too quickly. The cold air hadn't changed. Zuri's body ached, but she forced herself to stand. Reality didn't care about heartbreak. It moved forward anyway. She returned to her small apartment later that morning, a place she had barely used since spending most of her time with Adrian. Now it was all she had. She stepped inside slowly. The silence inside felt heavier than the night outside. Zuri dropped her bag, sat on the floor, and stared ahead. Hours passed. No movement. No sound. Just thoughts replaying. Every promise. Every moment. Every lie. Then a loud knock broke the silence. Rent, a voice shouted from outside. Zuri blinked, pulled back into reality. Another knock. I know you're in there. She stood slowly and walked to the door. I'll pay soon, she said weakly. When? The landlord snapped. 2 days. You said that last week. Zuri closed her eyes briefly. I know. I just need a little more time. A long pause. Then footsteps fading away. Zuri leaned her forehead against the door. No money, no support, nothing, she whispered. That afternoon, she went out. Not to think, but to survive. First stop, a small cafe. Do you have any job openings? She asked. The manager barely looked at her. Not hiring. Second stop, a clothing store. Experience? The woman asked. A little. We need someone more qualified. Third stop, an office building. We'll call you. They didn't. By evening, she had been rejected everywhere. Zuri stood in front of a glass window, staring at her reflection. She barely recognized herself. Her voice was quiet. So this is what I am now. A pause. A woman no one chooses. She shook her head suddenly. No. Her voice grew firmer. That's not who I am. That night, hunger joined the pain. She hadn't eaten all day, but instead of lying down, she reached for something she hadn't touched in a long time. Her notebook. Inside were ideas. Business ideas. Plans. Dreams she once shared with Adrian. She flipped through the pages slowly, stopping at one, then another. Her eyes sharpened slightly. They're not impossible, she whispered. She sat up straighter. No, they were just waiting. A pause. Then something shifted inside her. Something quiet, but powerful. I don't need him, she said. I just need to start. The next day, she took the only job she could get. Cleaning. A small office building. Low pay. Long hours. But it was something. As she wiped floors that evening, people walked past her without noticing. Talking. Laughing. Living. Zuri watched them silently. Not with envy, but with awareness. One man dropped a document near her. She picked it up. Glanced at it. Supply chain report. Numbers. Margins. Logistics. Her eyes lingered for a second longer than necessary. Then she handed it back. Thank you. The man said casually, already walking away. Zuri stood still. Then whispered. I understand this. That night, she didn't go home immediately. Instead, she sat outside a closed shop using free Wi-Fi. Researching. Learning. Watching. Hours passed. She didn't notice. Didn't feel tired. Didn't feel broken. For the first time since that night, she felt focused. If you've made it this far, you're really following this story. So tell me, what would you do in her position right now? Start small, or give up completely? And don't forget to like and subscribe. Days turned into weeks. Routine formed. Work. Learn. Repeat. Zuri began noticing patterns. Small business gaps. Market inefficiencies. Things others ignored. Then one night, she said it out loud. This is where I start. Back across the city, Adrian sat in his office. Silent. Restless. His assistant spoke carefully. Sir, We've lost another minor contract. Adrian frowned. To who? Unknown. A pause. Then Adrian asked quietly, what kind of strategy are they using? The assistant hesitated. Unusual, but effective. Adrian leaned back slowly. Something about that felt familiar. Meanwhile, Zuri closed her notebook, and for the first time, she smiled. Zuri didn't sleep that night. Not because she couldn't, but because she finally understood something. Sleep belonged to people who felt safe. And she wasn't safe anymore. Morning came quietly. She stood in front of a mirror inside her small apartment. Same face. Different eyes. Something had changed. Not outside. Inside. I can't stay small forever, she whispered. That morning, she quit the cleaning job. The supervisor frowned. You're leaving already? Zuri nodded. Yes. Because of another job? She paused. Yes, my own. The supervisor laughed lightly. You? Starting a business? Zuri didn't smile. Watch me. And she walked out. That same day, she sold her only gold necklace, her phone, and 2 handbags. Everything she could turn into capital. Then she rented a tiny shared workspace. 1 desk, 1 chair, 1 laptop. That was it. She wrote on a blank page. Market gap analysis, entry point. Then she stopped. For a moment, doubt crept in, but she shook it off immediately. No, she said firmly. I don't go back. Days passed. Zuri worked like she was chasing something invisible. Research, planning, calling suppliers, learning logistics, studying pricing systems. One evening, a man at the shared workspace looked at her screen. You're building something big? Zuri didn't look up. I'm building something necessary. The man smiled. That sounds dangerous. Zuri finally looked at him. It is. Meanwhile, across the city, Adrian Cole sat in a high-level meeting. Frustrated. Another deal lost. Another client gone. And the same name kept appearing in quiet conversations. A competitor no one could trace. Still no identity? Adrian asked sharply. His assistant shook his head. No public registration. Adrian leaned forward slowly. That's impossible. Silence. Then, they operate like they don't want to be seen. Adrian's jaw tightened. Or like they don't need to be. Something about it unsettled him. Not business-wise. Emotionally. That night, Adrian stayed late in the office. Alone. He opened old files. Old memories. Old messages. And her name appeared in his mind without permission. Zuri. He whispered to himself. It can't be you. But uncertainty stayed. Back with Zuri. The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. A small supplier agreed to work with her. Low cost. High-demand product. Simple logistics. But scalable. Maya, her only contact, called immediately. This is working faster than expected. Zuri nodded. Good. Maya hesitated. You don't sound surprised. Zuri finally leaned back. I planned for it to work. A pause. Then she added. Failure was never an option. Within 2 weeks, the first shipment launched. Small. Almost invisible. But it sold out in 48 hours. Zuri stared at the sales report. No reaction. Just focus. Then she whispered. Again. She reinvested everything. Expanded supply. Improved systems. Automated tracking. Refined pricing. She worked like someone who had no emotional space left. Because she didn't. Meanwhile, Adrian's company lost another key partner. This time it hurt. His father slammed the table in rage. This is sabotage. Adrian stayed quiet. But inside, he felt it. Not sabotage. Strategy. His assistant finally spoke carefully. Sir, there's something else. Adrian looked up. The competitor. Pause. They're targeting your exact weak points. Silence. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Who taught them that? No answer. But Adrian already knew what he feared. Someone who knew him too well. That night, Zuri stood on the rooftop of her workspace. Wind against her face. City lights below. She held her phone. On the screen, business registered. Finally, a name. A structure. A beginning. She whispered. They won't see me coming. At the same time, Adrian opened a file from an anonymous investor report. He froze. Something inside it felt familiar. Not the numbers. The thinking behind it. The discipline. The precision. He closed the file slowly and said one sentence. Zuri. But even he didn't know if it was fact or fear. If you're still watching this story, you're deep in it now. Tell me this honestly. Do you think Zuri is becoming stronger or colder? Comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Zuri's company grew quietly. No publicity. No noise. Just results. But growth always attracts attention. And Adrian Cole was finally paying attention. One night, his assistant rushed in. Sir, we traced something. Adrian stood instantly. What? A pause. The structure, the strategy, it matches someone with insider knowledge. Adrian's expression hardened. Inside my company? The assistant hesitated. Or someone who used to be inside your life? Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Final. Adrian whispered. If it's her. He didn't finish the sentence. Because for the first time, he wasn't sure what scared him more. Losing his empire. Or facing her again. The night was unusually quiet. No calls. No meetings. No distractions. Just silence pressing against Adrian Cole like it had been waiting for him all his life. He stood inside his office, staring at the city lights through the glass. But for the first time in years, he wasn't seeing the city. He was seeing her. Zuri. His assistant entered carefully. Sir, we confirmed it. Adrian didn't turn. Confirmed what? A pause. The competitor. It's her company. Silence. The words didn't shock him. They confirmed what he had already been running from. Adrian closed his eyes slowly. So it is her. Across the city, Zuri stood in her office. Now no longer small. No longer invisible. Screens glowed around her. Her company had officially entered the top-tier market, and every move she made was shaking Adrian's empire. Maya walked in carefully. They're requesting a meeting. Zuri didn't look up. Who? Maya hesitated. Adrian Cole. Silence. For the first time in a long time, Zuri stopped moving. Say that again, she said quietly. Maya repeated it. Zuri exhaled slowly. Then she closed her laptop. No, she said. Maya blinked. No meeting. Zuri's voice was steady. If he wants closure, he has to earn it. That same night, Adrian arrived at a private rooftop restaurant. Empty. Reserved. Waiting. Zuri arrived 10 minutes later. She didn't rush. She didn't hesitate. She simply walked in like someone who had survived everything that tried to break her. Adrian stood when he saw her. For a moment, neither spoke. 7 years of silence sat between them. Zuri finally spoke first. You wanted to see me. Adrian nodded slowly. Yes. A pause. I needed to see you. Zuri's expression didn't change. Why? Adrian exhaled deeply. Because this wasn't business anymore. This was confession. I didn't stop loving you, he said quietly. Zuri didn't react. Adrian continued. When you left, I told myself it was necessary. He looked away. For my family, for the company, for survival. A pause. But the truth is, his voice lowered. I chose them over you. Silence. Zuri stared at him, waiting. Adrian's hands tightened slightly. I told myself it was strategy. A bitter laugh escaped him. But it wasn't. He looked back at her. It was fear. Zuri's eyes narrowed slightly. Fear of what? Adrian's voice broke slightly. Fear of losing everything I built. A pause. Then softer. But I lost myself instead. Silence again. He stepped closer. I thought I could move on. I got engaged because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. But every day after you left, he shook his head. I wasn't living. I was functioning. Zuri finally spoke. So what are you saying, Adrian? His eyes held hers. I'm saying I never stopped loving you. A pause. I just didn't know how to choose you when everything around me told me I shouldn't. Zuri stayed silent. The wind moved between them. Heavy. Still. Then she spoke. Do you know what it felt like? Adrian didn't answer. Zuri's voice stayed calm. It felt like I was a mistake you were embarrassed to keep. Adrian shook his head immediately. No. She raised her hand. Let me finish. Silence. I built everything from nothing, she said. I learned how to survive without you. A pause. And I became someone you don't get to recognize anymore. Adrian's voice softened. I recognize you. Zuri looked at him. No. A pause. You recognize who I used to be. Silence stretched. Adrian stepped closer. Then tell me what you want. Zuri stared at him for a long moment. Then finally, she said, I wanted you to choose me when I was nothing. A pause. But you didn't. Adrian lowered his head. I know. Zuri exhaled slowly. But here's what I understand now. She looked at him fully. I didn't lose you. I lost who I thought you were. A long silence followed. Then Adrian said softly, Do you hate me? Zuri paused, then shook her head. No. Adrian looked surprised. Zuri continued, Hating you would still mean you control something in me. A pause. And you don't anymore. That hit harder than anger ever could. Adrian whispered, So what am I to you now? Zuri looked at him for a long time, then said quietly, Someone I used to love. A pause. And someone I had to outgrow. Silence. No anger. No revenge. Just truth. Adrian nodded slowly. I understand. He looked at her one last time. I'm sorry not because I want you back. A pause. But because you deserved better than me at that time. Zuri's eyes softened slightly. For the first time, there was no pain in them. She turned slightly to leave. Adrian spoke one last time. Zuri. She stopped, but didn't turn fully. If I had one chance again. A pause. I would choose differently. Silence. Zuri nodded once, then said softly, but we don't live in again. And she walked away. Adrian stood there alone. Not broken. Not destroyed. Just finally aware. Across the city lights. Zuri walked forward. Not running. Not escaping. Just moving. Because she wasn't surviving anymore. She was living. If this story touched you, do you think Zuri did the right thing by walking away instead of staying? And most importantly, do you believe Adrian truly changed? Comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional stories like this. Sometimes love doesn't fail because it wasn't real. It fails because timing, fear, and choices destroy what emotions could not protect. Forgiveness doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes it means releasing without hatred. And growth sometimes looks like walking away from the person you once prayed would stay.